Tell me sweet little lies.
Welcome to another video. I know I said I was making the Oreo diaries, but it turns out videos actually take a long time to make, you know? Welcome to my channel, the channel where I secretly don't wear pants in any of these videos, so that's why I don't film from the waist down. But anyway, today we will be talking about Harajuku fashion. But Monica, what even is Harajuku? First of all, stop whining. Second of all, Harajuku is a Japanese street fashion that originated in the 1980s, but became popular in the West in like the late 2000s, early 2010s. It's kind of crazy that the 2010s are over. But anyway, if the fashion kind of looks familiar, it's mostly because stuff like this is a hybrid fashion. So, it largely contains stuff like kawaii, gothic lolita, Mori girl, if you know what that means. I'm a Mori girl. But it's mostly a combination of a lot of Japanese street fashion. I would remember it like this. Kawaii is Harajuku, but Harajuku is not kawaii. It's kind of like that. So when did I start to dress Harajuku? I kind of have been dressing Harajuku since I was 12 without knowing it. And before you're like, what does that mean? I've always had the style of wearing extremely oversized stuff. I have shirts that range from large to like 4X. I've always been oversized. And then I started getting into kawaii fashion, gothic fashion, you know, punk rock, and it kind of, my style became a mixture of all that. And when I was searching for kawaii fashion, there was always a tag that went along with it called Harajuku, and I'm like, wait, what is this? And here I am with you guys today. So, this will be my tips for my... This will be tips for my fellow plus-size queens. And before you're like, you're not even plus-size? Why are you making this video? I put a lot of effort to look pretty thin on camera, but I am almost 6 feet tall and nearly 200 pounds. I am quite literally a giant woman. So, I will start out with the do's and the don'ts of where to shop when it comes to Harajuku fashion. Don'ts. I would recommend not going to Torrid. And before you're like, Torrid? Torrid or any other plus-size retailer overcharges like crap. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, how much was the original price for that? Those retailers are for a specific audience, and when it comes to stuff that's for a specific audience, they will capitalize to the full extent that they possibly can. So they are going to upcharge as much as they can. Whereas stuff I'll get to later like JCPenney and Kohl's, they will just try to appeal to the broadest majority as possible. So obviously their clothes are going to be a lot cheaper. I'm not saying the designs in Torrid are bad. Like, there's some cute stuff, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm not paying $40 for a t-shirt. That's not what we're gonna do today. The second don't, I would say, is a stipulation. So, if you know your measurements, I would say Asian retailers are pretty Gucci, pretty good. But I know it's not largely, you know, a thing for people to directly know their measurements. So, if you don't know your measurements off the top of your head, I wouldn't risk it with an Asian retailer, because more often than not, they will go with Asian sizes rather than the US standard because they're an Asian retailer. So, don't take the risk, even though it's $12 or $20 still. There's no point in making yourself feel like crap for getting a garment that's too small. So, the final retailer I would say don't on is Target or Walmart. And before you're like, wait, what's wrong with Target or Walmart? I am a total hypocrite on this. I have clothes from Target and Walmart, and they are the most adorable things possible. But they're weirdly expensive. Unlike other major department stores, Walmart and Target are rarely going to have discounts on their clothes. So, if you see a $40 dress, that $40 dress is going to stay a $40 dress. So if you are on a budget like me, you know, moving to another country, kind of on a budget, you're not necessarily going to want to buy the most expensive thing. And it's weird because Walmart and Target are known as like the cheaper alternative. Not really, girlfriend. Now time for the... So, the do's are any major department stores. We're talking Sears, we're talking JCPenney, we're talking Kohl's, any of those bad boys. My best kept secret is the men's section in Kohl's. And the reason why is Harajuku fashion is a lot about being cute. And oversized is super in. And Kohl's has a lot of times t-shirts, they'll have like 3 for $10 or 2 for $7 or something like that. And you can pick up the cutest graphic t-shirts you possibly can from Kohl's and other department stores like that. It's cheaper than going to Torrid or something like that. And oftentimes they have plus size clothing, especially when you go to the men's section. My second thing would be Etsy. Especially for dresses and skirts, Etsy a lot of the times focuses on custom clothing. And a lot of the times the people who are making this custom clothing can make alterations and can custom make your size. So it would be highly preferable than, finding a dress that's close to what you want rather than getting a retail who can custom make it for you. And finally, Joann's Fabric. And I'll touch on this a little bit later. Tips on how to dress.
Yes.
So I'll start out with shirts. I see now the fashion trends of having a oversized t-shirt and putting stripes underneath it. That is absolutely adorable, and it's one of the cheaper things because I know a lot of the times you can go to a thrift shop and find a striped shirt, or you can just find a cheap one at Tesco or something like that. But either way, it's a good fashion thing and it looks absolutely adorable. Another thing, like I said, buying extremely oversized t-shirts. My friends, the men's section is the best kept secret of many people who are part of the art of kawaii.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this t-shirt. I bought this at Cabela's. Cabela's is not a kawaii retailer, nor is it majorly a clothes store. It is a hunting shop, and a yee one at that. But look at how freaking adorable this thing is. Oversized is always good, especially if you're trying to go for a more cutesy, little look. And creating that illusion is hard, but having these big oversized t-shirts are a godsend. That's all I have to say about shirts. I would say three tips, men's section, graphic t-shirts, hoodies. Anyway, let's move on to... I would always say that midi skirts are good because when you're tall like me, a midi skirt is going to turn into a mini skirt. So for my tall ladies, always aim to go for the knee, never aim for a short because when you are tall, it's going to look obviously a lot shorter. And everyone knows about the age-old secret of the tartan skirt. So, where I live in Scotland, the tartan skirt is so popular that even men are wearing it. But tartan skirts, tennis skirts, stuff like that, cheerleading skirts, they're always going to be super adorable. Now let's move on to pants. So, remember those shorts your mother made you wear because she thought anything shorter than fucking 2 feet on a short would make you too sexually appealing despite having the body of a snowman? Those are kind of in fashion again, so I would recommend getting a pair of those. Plus, they're cheaper because nobody wants them. Anyway, another thing I would recommend is pattern leggings. I wouldn't recommend the tartan leggings because they're pretty punk rock unless that's the kind of Harajuku you're going for. But if you're going for a cutesy Harajuku legging, I would say that JCPenney has a lot of stuff like Star Wars leggings and TV show leggings. I know there's a retailer that sells unicorn leggings and those are always a win. Patterned leggings, preferably bright colors and stuff like that. Obviously, if you want to go in a punk direction, then stuff like that. But the last thing I have for you is dresses. And I'm gonna recommend to you some shapewear. And before you're like, Monica, are you trying to make the plus size queen smaller? We're supposed to be proud of our size. We're not supposed to make ourselves look smaller. It's not about looking smaller. Harajuku is largely in tone with Mori Girl and Kawaii, and it has heavy influences from them. So, the emphasis is on a very innocent looking body. Look, I like a pair of big bodacious boobs, But if you're like me, where your boobs are too small to be anything noteworthy, but too big to fit into kawaii fashion, I would recommend a sports bra. I know when I wear oversized stuff like this, my badonkadonks are kind of whoop. So a sports bra kind of smooths that all out and doesn't make it too sexy. For bottoms and stuff like that, I have a very like figure, so I don't use a lot of shapewear, but if you are a bodacious babe, I would recommend using some shapewear just to kind of angle it out. That way you get that innocent look that you're going for. And when it comes to dresses, we love a good floral pattern. I love a good floral pattern. Try to have the hem lower. I wouldn't say a floor dress because a floor dress is very mature, but try to aim for the knees, around the knees. That way it's not too high, because the higher you go, the sexier it gets. And not the good kind of sexy. Sexy is not very much a part of the fashion, so I would recommend frilly hems, you know, frilly hems all around and stuff like that. Long sleeve is always a safe bet. But if I were to say go sleeveless, I would put a long sleeve under it. But just try to be conservative, but not professional conservative. Just kind of like, maybe put the boobies away. No low-cut tops. I know we love a low-cut top, but low-cut tops are very, very sexy. I have no other word for it, but they're very sexy. So I would say, if you can see a choker, but not see a necklace, it's a good bet. But if your cut is low enough to see a average length necklace, I would say it's a bit too long. And finally, my last kept secret, sew your stuff. I am a terrible seamstress, despite wanting to go to college for seamstry. But I am a terrible seamstress. If you are someone who has a sewing background or is trying to get into sewing, there are plenty of people on YouTube, and I will put their channels over here. So that is all I have to say for this video. Stay cute, my beautiful kittens. Subscribe if you like my content, and I will see you in the next video.